So let us quickly look at what we did in the last session, and then I will give you an outline of what we are going to do today and whenever the next session happens. Now, I might mix it up a little bit depending on how the flow is and how you guys are able to pick up everything up. So we have to do VBA. We have to continue with Excel, obviously. Then we have a few more functions, pivot tables to be covered. Then I have examples on Power Query, Power Pivot, and then we also have Visual Basic, right? Now, obviously, it's a lot to be covered, and that's why we'll be spending a lot of time on this. But in what order we do it, I will take the call on that so that we can mix and match. The idea is not to finish one module and then go to the next one and then go to the final one. Because everything is a part of Excel, there is also a lot of interrelation between them, right? So I have not yet decided. I was preparing all the files, but then I was not very sure what should be the flow because your batch is focused. Just help me understand. Your batch is focused on finance, right? In the sense that most of you will appear for finance jobs, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Which might be in different areas like banking and M&A, but it is going to be in finance. Got it. In fact, just to show you, I haven't yet replied to them. I just got a mail from Vatsal, who's the learning head for D's shop for their training for this month, right? I still have to reply to them. So obviously I have been, of course, all my content is ready, but I have been improvising the topics that I'm covering and what I'm choosing to cover. So obviously you would understand that I can't cover everything in the span of 6 sessions, but then I've been very selective in terms of taking the sort of examples which I feel are relevant to you. So that's the outline. Let's quickly do a recap of what we did last time, and we will continue from there. Okay. So we have, by the way, that latest folder that I've shared with you, I've also split it into 3 parts. So day 1, 2, and 3. All right. So in the first session, we saw primarily dynamic arrays, right? That was the most important thing for us. And we saw, how come there are no results here? Hold on. Did not save it? Is that possible? Nevertheless, right, I think I have probably lost the file, which is very odd. Oh no, I'm so sorry. We worked online, right? We were not working on the Excel. Got it. So let me open office.com with my free account, right? Not with the paid account. And we have day 01, all right? Great. So a quick recap of what we had done. So the focus was on learning dynamic arrays because dynamic arrays are not an area in Excel. They have fundamentally changed the way other formulas work as well, right? So formulas that we have been used to for so many years, like in my case, 20 years, we are now rethinking how those formulas can also become more powerful and more dynamic, right? So we had seen how dynamic arrays allows us to write a single formula that will give us multiple results, right? Then we did the double unary operator. And I also showed you how dollar signs can be replaced by selecting multiple rows, multiplying with multiple columns. Unique was super simple. We simply did a unique, but filter was an addition. Filter is what it says. It filters the data. So when I say that I have a number of records and there are 10 names, it will filter only those names that are meeting the criteria that we have. In this case, the criteria is consumer. And how do we combine multiple filter arguments together? By either, if you remember, by doing a multiplication or a equality, right? So we can also write an equal to sign here. I do agree that when you have 6, 7 conditions, the formula is going to look quite long. But then I hope you remember the tip that I gave you, which is to press Alt-Enter so that your formula breaks into multiple lines. But see, as far as the length is concerned, there's not much you can do about it. What you can do is to use let, which is your name declaration. And the reason we did that was because this part, indirect, that indirect, remember the second line is only playing a single role, which is to tell me the last used row. So in column A, which is the last serial number that I have. Since we wanted to find that, remember it was 42, we are using indirect. But since this is being used in two places, one is in the filter and the other is in the XLOOKUP, rather than making it redundant, we are making it more efficient by writing it in a let. Now, keep in mind that the advantage of using let is not just that, oh, the formula becomes smaller. Of course, it does. Computationally, there is a huge impact. See, Excel, and this is very important for finance guys, because when you work with large files and SAP data, Excel will crash, it will hang, even if you have a fairly good computer. Now, the reason is that Excel works on the RAM. That means that if you are working with 2 GB of data, every time you're refreshing it, it will, needlessly sort of recalculate everything. There are things that we can do about it. For example, in calculation options, we can set it to manual. You don't really need to get into all this right now. I'm just giving you an overview of what it is. When you're working with like really complex models with scenarios and all in it, which is slowing down the file, that is where you have to set it to manual. Manual basically means that now if I write equal to 1 plus 1, it will not show me. Just a moment. Okay. So I'm writing the sum of 2 and 3. It gives me 5, which I made bold. But since this is manual, if I change one of the inputs, you notice that the result does not change. Until and unless I say either calculate workbook or I say turn it to automatic, it will not calculate the change that has happened. Right? When to use, when not to use, it really depends on a lot of experience, and you have to take a call. But you can set it to manual at any point. It will not make any damage to your formulas. Right. So that's why we used let here, everybody. And this part of the formula is what I call a generic formula. That means this indirect B4B match 9A plus 9, 9. See, this you can just copy and paste in any example, right? If I may prove it to you, I'm just opening an Excel file, right in front of you. I'm opening an Excel file and I'm putting some values here. So there is some number 10, 20, and there is a number here. Now, because you have already written it one time, you can just copy this entire line. As you can see, I can just copy this entire line, Control C, come back, do equal to. The only thing I need to change is to change the column. So it becomes H7 and it becomes H, and this also becomes H and then H, right? So as you can see, it gives me the entire list of values, right? If you only wanted to find the last used record, that's even simpler. Then you can just say match like this, and it will tell you that the 13th row, which is this one, is the last row which has a value in it. This concept of last used row is something we will also do in Visual Basic, which we are going to cover today. Just a quick preview. If you Google last used row, you will see that there are hundreds and thousands of articles on this, right? Because think why this is so important. When you're making a database and you're populating records, whether it's a financial record, it's a transaction, it's a customer data, obviously the next time a transaction happens, it has to get appended at the bottom, isn't it? So this concept of finding last used row is there everywhere. I mean, if you're working with a database, if you're working with Power Apps, if you're working with Excel, any programming language, this concept is super important. So do not think that what we are doing on Excel is something very strange and very odd. I would say that what we're doing on Excel, in fact, is very good, and it's very common because across different projects on different languages and platforms, you will always have to calculate which is the last used record, right? Okay. Coming back, so then we did what else? We did sort and sort by. I don't think there's much for me to explain here. This was very simple. Yeah, that's it. So any questions, anybody, on what we have covered so far? The next topic that we are going to cover is from day 02, which is XLOOKUP. We've already done it, but I want to do it once again. I want to show you offset. I've taken a nice, stock market data here, and I'll show you how offset is super important. Offset will also be used for programming. Whether you're working on Google Apps or JavaScript, offset is super important. Then we do another example of indirect in row to create a dynamic chart. This will be our first step to create a dynamic dashboard. So we want to create a trend line, which is what we're going to do. Then I'll also teach you how to do a simple linear regression, how to do a forecast here. Then we do highlight the top end values and bullet chart. These two are charts. Now, indirect row will be done on, I'm thinking, indirect in row will be done on your desktop version of Excel. Highlight top end will also be done on your desktop version. Bullet chart will also be done in your desktop version, right? And XLOOKUP and offset we can do online since you will not have that option. So if I may request everybody to just copy this data, I'm also doing the same thing, right? So just copy the entire data, come back to the sheet on which you were working yesterday and just place it there. This is an XLOOKUP. So, oh, it's already there. Okay. The file that I shared with you, XLOOKUP is already there. Yeah. But before we start, any questions, anybody? Anything on your mind? All good for now. Okay. XLOOKUP is super simple. What we have with us is a database which is 21 records. And what I need to find is the details for 3 people. So one is Bill, the other is Patrick, the third is, I don't know, Kalisha. Now, the first thing I need to find is the most recent purchase date. You can see that this data is already sorted. So I want to know that the most recent transaction for Bill, which would be this one, right, is worth how much? It is worth $39. I want to get this result here. Tell me, can VLOOKUP do this? What do you think? Anyone?
No, sir, we cannot execute here.
And why not?
Because we need to find Bill and Shonley and it's not in the leftmost corner of the data.
No, but why would that be a problem? See, what if I only select customer name as the left column and the result is to the right? I can ignore the order date in the customer
Sir,
right.
maybe because of most recent purchase sales cannot able to find
In
out.
which order does VLOOKUP search everybody? From bottom to top or top to bottom? Top to bottom?
Top to bottom.
So what will happen the moment it searches for
bottom.
Bill? Will it bother to go to the other sales? Of course not. It will say, you wanted Bill, I'm giving you Bill, Bill is 72, right? So if I may write the VLOOKUP here, and the moment I say equal to VLOOKUP, I was searching for Bill in column DNA, right? Now I agree with your point that it is not the leftmost column, but I can make it the leftmost column, isn't it? Because my data is already sorted. I don't need to select column B and C. What's the need, right? And my column number 2 and false, right? Now it tells me 72, which is correct. But the problem is that there are multiple transactions for Bill, and this is the problem with VLOOKUP. VLOOKUP is not really supposed to work with a fact table. That means when the values are being repeated. VLOOKUP works with a database. For example, if I say that all of you are on the university website, the student database, obviously your ID, student ID, will be appearing only one time. It is not possible that different people have the same ID, right? That is where VLOOKUP works, because there is no question of, oh, is it the first Aman or is it the second Aman, right? But in the case of transactional data, like the sales data, you notice that we might have a need to go bottom up, not top down, right? So for this, we use XLOOKUP, right? What are we searching for? H5, comma. What is the lookup array? Anybody? Quick. What do you think is the lookup array here?
D, sir.
D. Okay. And what is the return array?
E, sir.
E. Okay. Now,
Yes.
what do you think if not found means? Just guess. We haven't done this last time, but just guess what do you think it is?
I think shell will come.
Say that again.
Shell, I think error will be shown up because shell will
So
come.
if Bill is not present in the data, what will it show me? It will show me name does not exist, right? You have used if error, right, on Excel. So what XLOOKUP does it, that it does not need you to write if error specifically. You can have the if not found inside the formula. So this means that in case the value is not present anywhere in that column, it will show you name does not exist. Now this is the interesting bit. It says match mode. Now, can somebody tell me why is it not giving me options of 1, -1, 0? It should, right? But why is it not giving me those options? How do I know what I want to select? I told you this last time. Why are we not getting the option of 0, 1, and -1?
So because it's online mode and there's a
Exactly.
disadvantage.
Because on the online mode, unfortunately, you don't have that option. So you can't really search. I mean, you do not know what order you want to search in, right? So what I'm going to do for now is I'm just going to put a 1 here. In fact, I'm going to make the match mode blank, and the search mode I'm going to keep as 1, right? Now you notice it gives me 72, but if I change the search mode to -1, it will give me 39.42. I hope all of you can see this. So now very smartly, I don't have to change the data. Like a lot of people will say, okay, Havish, you come here, you go to data, apply a filter, then you do a reverse filter. But why do you want to go through all that hassle, right? So now showing you on Excel what that option is. So in XLOOKUP, we have match mode is exact like you have on VLOOKUP, exact and approximate. So it's sort of like that. And then we are not concerned with this. Search mode is, look at this. What is 1? Search first to last, that is top to bottom. And then -1 is last to first, that is bottom to top. Right? This binary search you can ignore. We don't need this. Right? So -1 basically is what you have to do. Right? So anyway, so this is -1. Now I can just copy this, paste it here, and say that this oldest purchase should be 1, because now it will search from the top, which is 72. And how do I get the customer ID? Anybody? XLOOKUP?
We replace E array by C.
Absolutely. So rather than D is okay, but rather than selecting E, we can now go to the left and we can select C. We don't need to change anything else, and we get the result like this. So what I'm doing is I'm writing the formulas at the top so that you can look at it and tell me if you have any questions. Okay. While you're doing this, just give me 60 seconds. I just have a client call. 60 seconds, everybody. All right, sorry about that. I'm back. So any questions on this, anyone?
So first to last, does it mean that it's searching from the top to bottom or like the highest to the lowest number?
No. Nothing highest to lowest, top to bottom. In terms of the order of transactions.
Oh, this is in the given in the date form, like the table itself.
Okay.
Okay, nothing. I got it.
So, but if the data is not sorted, how will we find the highest data? Will
You
we
tell
just
me. You tell me. What do you think you should do if the data is not sorted? Can you not sort the data? Remember this. We can use sort function no, to sort the data,
Yes, sir. I see.
right? So I'm going to do it once, right? Where the data is not sorted, right? But I'll not do it here. I'll do it on a different sheet so that in case you want to look at it later, you can, right? So I'm just copying everything and putting it here. And I'll take a simple example, okay? We'll not take such a complicated one. First, I will have to sort the data in some haphazard manner, right? So let's put it like this. This is what you mean, right? That the data is not sorted.
Yes,
And
sir.
let's just remove everything. So remove the entire column. And let's say we want searching for, who should we search for? Let's search for Bill, for example, right? Now, if you're searching for Bill, we can now say equal to X lookup, right? The lookup value is Bill. And I want everybody to think and tell me, what do you think this lookup array should be?
Customer name.
How can it be the customer name? Because the customer name order is not as per the date order, remember? So what do you think we have to do first? We have to do a sort,
Oh.
right? And what are we sorting? We are sorting by. That means I want to sort my customer names as per what array?
Or order date.
By the date, right? So I can now select the date here, right? And what is the sort order here? We want it to be, ascending or descending?
Ascending.
Ascending, because the older date will be a small number and the newer date will be a larger number, right? So I also don't remember which one is which, but let's try this. So just a moment. So we have sort by, and then the return array. For the return array, we will have to do the same thing. So here I will say that, let me just copy this, that will make it easier. So we do it like this, right? And so let's do a basic VLOOKUP, then we'll see if we want to make it more complicated. And I want to also say that the result should be coming.
So yeah, I think the array should have been E that, and it should.
Yeah, you're right. So we're sorting by column B, and it gives me 72, right? So if you notice, it is still telling me the value that we wanted, despite the fact that the data is not sorted. It's a very good question, Like some of you must be thinking, oh, it's very practical and so handy that I don't have to touch the database. Some of you must be thinking, but Havish, is it not easier to go to the database and make a change? It's not. Can somebody tell me why is it important to learn this when it is so simple to just go to the data and apply a filter? It's a very simple answer. Just what do you think? Why do you think learning this is very important?
Because we are just using it for one time and we can't affect
Absolutely.
the data.
One is it is dynamic, right? So you don't have to change the sort order every time. That's one reason. Tell me another reason, like a even more important reason.
Like if the order is given by
It's
the company.
fixed, exactly. If the order is fixed and you're not allowed to change the order, right? Because the moment you change it manually, that means that you're messing around with it. There's another third reason. Think. Okay, let me give you a hint. Do you always work with a single Excel file? Of course not. So can you now
if it's
tell me?
linked to other worksheet,
Exactly.
the link might be
What do you do
damaged.
if it is linked to other worksheets or let's say other workbooks? That will happen, right? You're working on a model which is cross-connected with 5 other workbooks. Now, if you said, no, I want to go and sort it manually, even if you can, that means you have to go to that folder, open that file, and then apply a sort, which just doesn't make sense, right? It makes so much more sense to sort it virtually for a one-time use inside the formula like this, right? So all the points are correct. We don't want to mess around with the order. This makes it more dynamic because everything is happening inside a function. And most importantly, if the data is not accessible to you, in the sense that what if it is on OneDrive, or what if it is even in a different folder? Look at how much additional effort it takes to go to that folder, open the file, and then sort the data, which is what we end up doing nowadays. Good. So good question. And I hope you like the answer as well. So X lookup. Please make sure to practice this, okay, once you go back. Great. Now we want to come to indirect. This sheet is empty. No, 1 second. Let's come here. Indirect and row, everybody. But what I want from you is, just give me a moment. I'm just thinking, will we be able to do it online or not? Because in online, there's one feature which is not there. But do we really need that feature is what I'm thinking. So I'm a little confused because half the thing is very irritating. You know, half of it will work on Excel desktop, half of it will work on online. So just give me 30 seconds to think what we can do. So we will not use indirect here. What we'll do is, no, you know what? Let's do it on Excel. Let's not do it online because I want to show you your first introduction to VBA, and that cannot happen online, right? So please open the desktop Excel, everybody. Do not do it online because the first part will work, but the second part where we create a chart and we make it dynamic, that will not work, right? All right, now, what's the question? What are we trying to do here? Now, rather than explaining it to you, I want to show it to you, right? Okay, in fact, this is on my website, so it's faster for me to show you my website. Hold on. I just updated my Excel page. Just see the second chart, everybody. Do you see what's happening? We have a control that we have kept. And as I move the control to the left and to the right, you notice that my chart is showing me a different number of values. So essentially, I can select the range of data that we want to see. So I can say 1990 to 96 or 1990 to 2001, like this. This, everybody, is what we want to create. All right. Okay. Let me clean up a little bit. So do we need this? We don't need this. Yeah, I do need everything else, but I'll put my browser on the other desktop. And what else can we put there? Zoom also can come here. Day 2 can come here as well. And what's this? This can also come here. Perfect. So I have a clean desktop now. Perfect. So what we want to do now is I want to come to Excel, and I've already shown you the final result that I expect from you. What we want is to create a chart. So if I just insert a normal line chart just to show you, there is nothing wrong with this. It's absolutely correct. But I want to create some level of dynamic elements in it. I want the user to be able to select, let's say, 3 months at a time, right? Right now, what is happening is you're showing the data for 24 months as one snapshot, which is okay. But what if I only want to see the last 3 months? You know, because that's what you want to do in business. No? You want to say P3 or you want to say P6 or the last 3 quarters, like that. Now, the first thing that we have to do, the absolute first thing, is to give a name. All right. Let's see how we do that. Please select, everybody, please select from the first date, which is in B5, till the last date, which is in B28. From B5 till B28, just select it. Don't do anything else. And once you have selected this range, you have to go to the name box. Right? So select the range and then go to the name box, not to the formula bar, but to the name box. And you want to give a name here, which is date. In fact, just call it dates. Don't call it date because, or let's call it date. Let's leave it at that. Let's call it date. Now, you know what we have to do. Now I select this and I can make it my sales. Very important note. The range name does not work on Excel online as of now. We are expecting that they will add it at some point because this is super important. But as it stands, the concept of range names do not exist. Right? So you can see that there are 2 names that we have, date and sales. Please confirm this, everybody. Date and sales, like this. Right? Okay. Now, the next thing we want is to show, okay, listen very carefully. We want to show the first 6 months. That means I want to show June, July, August, September, October, November. So 2 quarters. Any ideas how we do this? How do we show this 6 here? The first 6. Anyone?
So we can use filter also.
See, but for filter, you will also need to have a serial number somewhere because filter requires a criteria. Now the criteria can only be that, oh, it's this date or that date or this one. The filter cannot be that it is the first 6 values. Does it make sense? So I'm sure we can maybe make a sequence or a serial number and use the filter, but let's think of something much easier. What I want to do is to write index. That means if I select the entire data, which is date, remember we are given a name called date. What is the row number we want? Anyone? If I want June 2018, what is the row number?
5.
1. 1 in that data. Okay, not in the entire spreadsheet. That's why you notice my array is not the entire spreadsheet, it's only the date name. Okay. Now within this date name, it is the first row. And what is the column number?
First.
It has to be 1. So I'm not even going to put it. What's the need of writing 1? Because that's the default. So it will give you June 2018. Perfect. But now you tell me, how do you get July 2018 in the next one? Anybody? You make it 2.
2.
But then you're not going to do that manually, right? That sort of defeats the entire purpose if you do it manually. So I can say in a way that I somehow need these numbers to come 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's see how we do it. I will write equal to the number of rows. So I will return the number of rows. Okay, watch very carefully. From F5 with a dollar to F5. So tell me, from F5 to F5, how many rows are there?
1.
One row. When I copy it down, what will happen? It will become 2. And why? Because now it is not counting F5 to F5 or F6 to F6. It is counting F5 to F6. Does it make sense? So if I drag it down, you'll be able to create a sequence like this. Now do keep in mind that if we have the sequence function, this process becomes much easier because I can just write 6 and hit this. But then, you know what? Sequence is not available on all systems, and at least for the next 2, 3, 4 years, it will take time for sequence to come on all systems. So maybe the organization with whom you are working might have it, might not have it. Maybe your clients have it or don't have it. And in any case, index and rows is better because it gives you further control, over every element. Sequence is great. It's easier, but then this is more customizable, right? So make sure to learn it. Okay, now tell me. I can make the change, right? We know what we have to do. Rather than writing 1, we will write rows. And I'll select the current cell, which is F5, colon F5. Now, obviously, when I copy it down, it works perfectly. Okay? I'm also writing the formula here, everyone, so that you can look at it, please. In fact, I'm curious to see if sequence can do it or not. Let me just try once. So index, we're selecting date. And in row number, I'm writing sequence of 6. Yeah, it's working. It's the same thing, only the format is different. So cool, isn't it? Like, I've been teaching this example for so long. And the fact that you have sequence just makes it stupidly simple, right? No dollar signs, mixed dollar, absolute dollar, rows, nothing like that. You just have to write equal to sequence. Right? So it's good for you to learn it, but then don't neglect this. This will be used for many, many years to come. Right? Great. Now, can somebody tell me, is this correct? If rather than writing date, I'm just selecting F4. Is it correct? Yes or no? Anyone?
The formatting will differ.
Okay, so let's call it date and sales. Better? Now tell me, will it work? Yes or no? So take a
It's
call.
not right because here you have selected the whole thing. Here, that's the only one single thing. How it is referring to that? Like,
Okay. But in a way, am I not telling the system that go here, right? And date actually refers to this. Do I not want to first go to F4 and from F4 take the value, which is date, and then go to the range that I've called date? Logically, that should happen, right? But it will not happen. It will just give me date. And the reason is, let me explain it like this. I've written B5, okay? And I read equal to F14. Will I get B5 as a result or will I get the value in B5 as a result?
The B5 as
value
well.
in B5.
The value
B5,
in
you
B5.
get B5.
So I want to do indirect of B5. Does it make sense? What does indirect say? Look at the one-line explanation now. It says it will return the reference specified by a text string. So what is a text string in this case? B5. But this is not an ordinary text string. Remember, it is referring to this, right? B5. And that's the reason when I write indirect of F14, Excel does not give me the value in F14. Excel considers the value in F14, which is a text B5, as a range. And what is that range referring to? June 2018. Does it make sense, everybody?
Yeah, you made Excel go to, you created a reference point and connected it to it.
Yeah.
Which is not happening in the previous one because it was only a text. There's no connection or no reference.
So if I ask you, what is this? Everybody says it's a text, but I can say B5 also refers to a cell. So how do I tell Excel that, no, it's not supposed to be a text value. It's supposed to be a cell value by using indirect. So tell me, with this learning, what should I change here? Anyone?
F4 part, there you can
F4 comes in indirect. Simple. See, earlier we were writing date. Now I'm selecting indirect from this name that I've given, and we'll get the, I'll have to put a dollar sign here as well. So I just put a dollar on my fourth row, and you can see that works perfectly. Any questions so far? By the way, let me also copy it to the right, and you will notice that if I change this format to number, it should now also show me the numbers, right? So the first 6 numbers. Please complete this step before we continue, everyone.
I had a question like, why are you doing that? Like, anyway, you have to select the whole thing, right? When you are making that date and sales. So,
okay, what if I had another column called profit, right? And I wanted to give the user the option of choosing between sales and profit. Does that make sense? You tell me, is it easier to change? For example, if I say, no, date should be on the right, is it easier to come here and change it in the formula, or is it easier to write it here?
Yeah, got it. So
makes sense?
It's just,
so see, always, it's a very fine balance between how much of future proofing do you want to do. So we always create models that are modular, and we also create models taking into account the fact that we might need to make additions or changes in the future. But that doesn't mean that, if you have been given a deadline, you say, no, I could not complete my deadline because I was thinking of next month. So it's a very fine balance that you have to make. But then that's how you improve at modeling, especially in finance, because even though finance is mostly repetitive work, and models are very complex, but at the same time, there isn't a lot of change that happens. It's not that every day your boss will come and say, give me some new analysis. It's mostly the same thing in and out that you have to do. And you slowly get better at it. You learn to automate, you learn to present it better. Right? Unlike marketing or sales, where it's so dynamic in the sense that new stuff is happening every day. Financial models are rigid, right? Like if I give you an example, DCM Shriram is one of my clients. DCM Shriram is a chloroalkali company, part of the Shriram group. It's very old, many decades old company. It's $1 billion company. It does more than 7,000 crores in revenue. It's Asia's largest chloroalkali plant. They have it in Gujarat. They have been one of my clients, and I work with the CFO office. 21 years of their financial data is on an Excel file. I'm not saying it's on Excel files. It's on an Excel file. It's on one Excel file. There are like 300 sheets in it. And so many people have come in and went out, and they keep on adding more and more sheets, right? And it's not very complex, but it's financial data, right? So top line, bottom line, quite a lot of things are there. And we have been trying to do it for 2 years to take that data and put it on Power BI or some form of database, and we just can't, because there is so much non-uniformity. Everybody has its own style of working. The way the data is presented is not clean. So 100 challenges, and we've still not managed to do that project, right? And this happens everywhere. Financial data, especially in financial planning and analysis, by nature of work, is not something that will change every financial year, right? It remains the same. Okay, anyway, any questions on this? Anybody so far?
This making is more user friendly across multiple users. That's the goal.
Not just multiple users. I always say that make it user friendly for multiple stakeholders, because everybody who you're sending it to might not be good with Excel, good with analytics, good with finance, right? Because there will always be different people who are consuming your data. You will have to send it to the HR team for, their look. You might have to send it to the legal team for their look. And that means that you have to make sure that customers don't have to give you a call back saying, explain to me how to use it, right? That has to be very clear. A good experience is something that blends with the user. Like the user does not even realize that, oh, when did I learn it? You look at a sheet and it should be very clear with the colors and like the fast standard that I told you last time. That helps you drive the user experience. I know usually we refer to all this in terms of how to create a website and how to create apps, but I think the same holds true for financial models as well, right? You have to focus a lot on this.
So can you show the sales formula once? So I'm not getting wrong for some reason.
The formula is here. No. You have to change the format. You have to change it into a number.
Okay, got it.
Because by default, it must be in a date format. So you'll have to change it to a number format. Okay, now tell me something. I am looking at the first 6 months, right? Which means from month 1 to month 6. What if I want to look at month 7 to month 12? What should we do? That's how we make it dynamic, right? How do I make it not from June to November, but I want to make it from December to May? Anybody? Think.
Somehow to refer to that, like
somehow we have to refer it to this. Now, this is what I like to call a control cell. That's something I like to call it, but usually it is called as a parameter. A parameter in coding just means that it's a parameter that the user can put a different value in, right? So you as a author are not declaring the value. You're letting the user choose their own value. And I like to always keep a yellow color here. So that means that if the user says 1, it should show June to November. When the user says 2, it should show from July to December, right? Very simple. I will just say plus J2 minus 1 because I want to cancel it out. No? So when I say plus J2 minus 1, what will happen? It will not show me June. It will show me July. Now just see how nicely we have made it. Once again, I'll have to change the format. Okay, you can see that if I make it 1, it shows me the first 6 months. 2 shows me the next 6 months. If I make it 7, it shows me skipping the first 6. So not from June to November, but from December to May. Please try this, everybody. The formula is here. We're almost there. I think this is the last step. Yeah, after this, we can create the chart. So see, every function is playing a different role. Rows is creating different numbers in different rows. Indirect is converting the heading called date in F4 into a range. And index is allowing me to pick the value from the first row in the date range that we have created. Right, everyone? So this J2 is what? It's allowing me to use the parameter. And why are we doing a -1? Because see, the parameter, we don't want to make it as 0. We want to keep it as 1. So that means that if it is showing 1, then we should start at the first month itself. That's why we have to cancel it out, right? So -1.
I'm not still clear about the parameter part, like why you did that.
See, when I say 1, it means that I'm showing the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months. Okay. The moment I make this 2, it means that it's now going to show me the next set of 6 months, like this.
Okay, got it.
So you're choosing the first starting point. So I can say that if I make it 12, what does it mean? It means that I'm showing the first month in my data, which is the 12th month. So that means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, like this. So that means it will start at the 12th month and it will show me the next 5 months as well, like this.
So it's working in sets of 6.
Yeah, absolutely. It's working in sets of 6.
So
because we have copied it into 6 rows.
Your parameter is kind of describing the starting point for the data.
The parameter is not kind of, it is exactly, you're absolutely right. It is describing the starting point. How many months do we have? 24. So now I'm telling it, start showing me the data at the 12th month. So tell me something. If I want to see the last 6 months in my data, what should we do? There are 24 months, remember? So if I want to see the last 6 months of my data, what should be the parameter?
18.
Think again.
19.
No? 19, 20, 21, 22, 20, 24. So I make it 19. So if you show me the last 6 months. If I make it 20, what do you think will happen?
Last 5 months.
If you show the last 5, but because I've written the formula for 6 cells, it will show me a error. Because it says that, Havish, you're asking me to find the 25th value, but I don't have a 25th value here, right? That's where the RAF error comes in. Now, maybe something, we have prepared this model, and I'm sure all of you agree that it's very nice for a finance guy, who understands how it is working. Tell me, is it good user experience to do this? To tell them, go to that J2 and change the number. How do they know what that number even refers to? Isn't it? So what we want to do now is we want to put a control.
Name it.
Sure, we can name it as well. Maybe we can maybe do an if statement saying that 1 refers to the first month, but it's still not very handy. Like if somebody says, I want to go to the 7th month. What do you mean the 7th month? Like somebody says, I want to see April to July, this period. Now, which month is April? How do you know that? So we can improve it, but not by much. This is where we need to enable the developer tab. Now, developer
here,
tab,
if at all we are choosing here 6 months. So if someone wants only 4 months, we can't do. Like you have to again change that.
Yeah. So the thing is that using the logic that we have created at the moment, remember, Excel formulas can give me a result in only one cell. Agreed? How do you get a result in multiple cells? By using dynamic arrays. Now, if I was using dynamic arrays here, I'll try my best not to confuse you too much, but rather than saying rows, if I had said sequence, okay, everybody just watch this. I say sequence and I say 6. Okay? Just let me delete everything. What happens? It shows me the first 6. Now, can somebody tell me how do I show the next 6? I can make it 7, so it will show me the next 6. Now, can somebody tell me how do I only show 4 months if I wanted to?
Change sequence 6 to 4.
I could have kept another parameter. I could have said 3, right? And rather than writing 6 here, I could have selected J3. And this means I can also choose the number of months I want to show. How cool is that? Right? So what we're doing is we have already made the starting point dynamic by using the parameter. Now we're also making the height of the array. These are technical. This is how we would explain it to somebody. We say that we are also increasing the height or the number of results by the second parameter. But like I said, unfortunately, we don't have sequence in Excel desktop for most of you. That's why I'm not showing it to you like this. And in any case, for most cases, this should work. But yeah, that's the answer to that question.
So technically, we can use this for like showing quarters in a like monthly data in quarters.
Not just that, you can also use it to give a control to the user saying, do you want to see quarterly data or do you want to see yearly data?
Yearly.
See, usually in models, what do? We create 2 separate columns because one has the quarter, one has the year. Because the user is not going to change the formula then and there, right? Now what we can do is we can give them a drop down saying, if you choose the quarter, it will show you the quarter. If you choose let's say the last H2, it will show you the last 6 months of the year. That's how dynamic arrays will like I have done this example maybe 250 times because I teach it at PwC and EY. And now that dynamic arrays are there, my mind is jumping with ideas, like one of you said, how do you do this? I can think of 5 other interesting things I want to do, right? But I hope you got that I'm not changing index indirect, only the rows is being replaced by sequence, which makes it dynamic. Good. Any other question? Take a moment, think about it. Let's not hurry.
Sir, I have a doubt.
Tell me.
We are showing only the date column one at a time. Why can't we show both date and sales with a single formula?
See, I also have to think. Hold on. Let me try. So I'll select both of them. I'll call it data, right? And let me just do it here. Let's not mess around with this. And now we can say that we want to index, right? Let's just copy this. It will save us some time. So we want to index, and in indirect, I can now write data. The row part should remain the same, but this time we need to have a column number as well. So the column number, we can say, tell me the number of columns from F5. So from F5 to F5 to F5. This means that when I copy to the right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it should show me the results. Yeah, I mean, you can do this too. Can you see what I've done, everybody? Can somebody explain to me what change I have made here?
You added columns also, like rows was there, you added columns. So
earlier, what was the column number in the formula in index? We did this. Try to recall. In index, in the date range, how many columns are there? There's only one column, isn't it? This time, what have I done? I have created a data set. You can see the selection. There are 2 columns. So that means that this formula should use column number 1 and this formula should use column number 2. So that column number also has to become dynamic, which is why I have written, just like we've done with rows, I've done it with columns as well. That would work as well. Right? And again, I hope it doesn't confuse you much more, but the idea here is that rather than writing rows, now I can write sequence of 6, and here I can write a sequence of 2, right? Sequence of, no, but that will not work. Just a moment. Sequence of 6 will be okay, but how do we get a 2 in the next one? I'm not even sure if that would be possible.
So, isn't the match function be a better idea? You can refer the cell number F13 to B4 by specifying the match for the column part in the index formula.
No, but that part we've already done, though. The selection of the data is not the problem.
Yeah, that's array. Then sequences for the rows. The column part which you have added in the end. Instead of columns, you can use the batch formula.
Very good. Very good. Absolutely. Excellent point. So what we are doing here is I am just selecting I'm selecting both of them. I'm calling it headers. Why? Because we want to make it dynamic. What if tomorrow 5 more columns get added, right? So rather than me putting the column number, now we can say that it has to be match. I'm searching for the heading called date, right? And the dollar should come in $13. We're searching in the headers and we're doing an exact match here. Right? So will this work?
Yes,
this should work, right? So Control R, yeah. But you will still have to write 2 formulas. What I was thinking of was, can we do it with a single formula? So why don't we say match F13 and G13? So let's say $13 colon G$13. I know it's getting a little tricky, but what we have managed to do here, everybody, is that we have managed to write a single formula. Please watch, everybody. one formula that is giving me all the results. And this has also made my number of rows dynamic. So I can change the number of rows anytime I want. See, this is never ending. I can keep on spending more time on it and adding more levels of control on it. So the goal is not to make it complex for the sake of making it complex, right? So don't feel, oh, but I don't understand this part and that part. The idea is to understand that Excel offers a lot of possibilities. It's not about learning more functions. It's about using the functions correct. Like I did not think we can use match, right? That's the beauty of it. You know, the more you think, the better ideas you will come up with. Good. Any questions? So I'll let it be here because you will be able to do this on your system as well. Remember, if you can't open this file, the file will open. If this formula does not work on Excel desktop, all you can do is just copy this like I'm doing right now, Control C, back here and just paste it here. That's it. So everything will work here. Okay. No, only the value has come. That's strange. Hold on. So let's copy this, come back and oh, but it will not work. What am I saying? Because you don't have the range name. Let me delete this. See, that's the tricky part, no? And I hope all of you can now see why I'm also getting a little irritated. We are really waiting for Microsoft to make it at par because dynamic arrays for users with non-Microsoft only works online. Online names don't work. So it's very irritating, right?
But if you take this file and upload it, then it should work, right?
No, the
like
concept
if you take this file,
not there. No, what do you mean upload it? As in on OneDrive and all?
No, just drag it and put it on like this file because you're done on desktop.
No, the file will open, but the concept of
with the
name
formulas. With the formulas. Here you just copy paste the data.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That will work. You can upload the file, the formula will come, but the formula will not work correctly. Yeah. You can just drag and drop the file. Right? Okay. So let's go back. Let's come back to this. So, but good. I'm happy they spent a lot of time on it. The final thing we need to do is two things. One is we want to make a chart, but before that, I want to create a better user experience for this number. You know, rather than putting that number manually, I want to give them a control. This would be developer tab. Now, developer is again not available online because it uses Visual Basic. Please enable the developer tab, everybody. Go to file and go to options. And go to file and then options. Select customize ribbon. Customize ribbon. And then you will see the developer tab on the right side. You have to put a tick mark on that. I think for most of you, it will not be selected unless you have worked with it earlier. So just make sure to put a tick mark. All right. Once you get the developer tab, like I said, we will be doing VBA a little later. But for now, let's first do what we want to do, which is to insert a control. These are called form controls. Now, the difference between form controls and ActiveX, they look very similar to each other, not exactly the same, but very similar. The difference, everybody, is that the two rows of form controls work with or without VBA, but ActiveX controls will require Visual Basic. So the simple takeaway here is that if you are okay with coding, then you can use ActiveX. But if you want to do it without coding, then you have to use the first two rows. Don't select the second set of rows, right? Third and fourth one. And I want you to insert this one, which is the spin button. The first row, fourth from the left. So spin button. Just drag the spin button like this, like you make a shape on PowerPoint. If it did not come properly the first time, just delete it and make it once again. Right? The spin button cannot be horizontal, it will only be vertical. Right? So if you want it to be horizontal, then you have to make a scroll bar. But if you want it to be vertical, up and down arrow, then you have to, I mean, this is the only option. You don't get left and right arrow on this. Okay, now obviously this has to be connected to my cell. So very simple, right click, go to format control. Now, can somebody tell me what should be the current value, minimum value, maximum value, incremental change, and the cell link? So what should be the current value?
1.
Okay. Minimum?
1.
Maximum?
How many ever there are, like the...
Not how many ever there are, but how many ever there are minus the number of values we want to show, right? So since we are showing blocks of 6 at a time, if I show the 19th, it will automatically show 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. So it has to be 19. So we are keeping a validation. We are not letting the user choose beyond the 19th month. Because if the user chooses beyond the 19th month, then it will throw an error. So this is my way of controlling the user experience. Incremental change is 1, obviously, and my cell link, I'm sure all of you know, is going to be J2. Just finish this, please.
How do you get this insert again?
You simply have to right click on the form control and then click on format control. Right? So 1 to 19, increment is 1, and the cell link is J2. And I'm sure all of you can expect what this will do. When I click on the arrow, the numbers change and my results are also changing, but it stops at 19. It doesn't go beyond that. That's it. Just make a chart. So select, make any chart that you want. I'm going to make a trend line. In fact, let me make a area chart. That looks much cleaner. And how is the connection happening? First, let me show you how it is working. So you can see that my area chart is changing. So how it works is that my control changes the cell, right? The cell is changing the formula here, right? And obviously the formula is connected to my chart. Right? But for the end user, what are we presenting? We don't present all of this clutter, right? For the end user, we simply say, if I may just drag everything to the right. This is the experience for the end user, everybody. To the end user, we say, this is your data. You can go back and forth. So I can just do this, and the user doesn't need to know what all is happening at the back end. Right. Questions, anyone? First see if it is working. If it's not working, get it verified. And if it is working, then you can ask me any questions that you have. You do this, give me 30 seconds. I'll just go and wash my hands. I don't know why they're getting so greasy. I'll just be back. Yes. Any questions, anyone? Okay. Obviously, there are many other controls available. So in developer, you can see that we have different types of controls. So you have, let me just take you through them. We have our command button, which is just called the button. We have our combo box, which means that it can show a drop down where you can select multiple values from. Then we have a checkbox. We have a spin button, which we've already used. List box is where you want to select multiple values. So combo will be one, list box will be multiple. Then you have your radio buttons. You have your frame, so or a group. So in a group, you can keep multiple controls. Then you have your text box, and finally you have your text box here is called a label. And then finally you have your scroll bar. Very similar to the spin button, but scroll bar can also be made horizontally. Okay. You're good? All right, let's do one more. Please come to the next sheet. This one is much simpler, but this one also has a lot of use case, right? That's why I chose to do this example. Please make a chart, everyone. Alt F1, once you select the data, in fact, you don't even need to select it. Alt F1 is the shortcut to make a chart immediately, the recommended chart. Please do that. Alt F1. All right. Now, what is the objective? You can see from the sheet name that we want to highlight the top n values. So let me just write the top n somewhere. Let's say 3, for example, right? Any ideas, anybody? How do you think we will highlight the top 3 values on the chart? Like usually we do it manually, right? We say that, okay, this is the highest one. Let me select it and then go to format and change the color. But then that doesn't make it dynamic. But we want to make this process dynamic. Any ideas, anybody?
Max would give only one value. No? Max.
Yeah, max will give you one value. We do have something called large, which can give you the second largest, third largest, but then sure, I can see the 3 largest ones, but then like I have highlighted it, no? But then how does that help me make it on the chart? So what we will do is, I will say that show me the top n only, right? Is 1580 in the top 3? No, so the value should be 0. 7014 is not in the top 3. You see that 85,000, actually 97,000 is in the top 3, so this will be the same number, 97680. This is what we want as a result. Now, can somebody think what formula should we write?
XLOOKUP.
But lookup will only tell me the same value, right? How will I know whether it's in the top 3 or not? Keep thinking. If I say X lookup and I say search for 1580 here, it will tell me that 1580 is there. But when did it get the chance to check whether 1580 was in the top 3 or not? Okay. First, we write rank. Okay, we want to rank all the numbers. So I will rank C5 in the entire data. Make sure to also put a $sign. What will happen? It will tell me that 1580 is the 17th number. That means it's the smallest number in a range of 70. So I can drag it down, and you can now see that I have 1, I have 2, and I have, I don't know where 3 has gone, 3. Okay. Please start with this, everyone. Right. Now, can somebody complete the formula for me, please? How do I convert 1, 2, 3 into the number and everything else will become 0? What do you think we should do? I can guarantee you have used this formula before, this function before.
If rank is equal to or less than equal to
If my rank is less than equal to
parameter
3, then the result should be the same cell. It should be C5. Otherwise, it should be 0. So what will happen? Everything will be 0 except the top 3. So this completes the part with our formula. The only thing left is we have to include it in the chart, right? But we'll do that. First, you do the formula, then we will include it in the chart. Right. Anybody? Any questions? I don't think there should be any questions. Super simple. Obviously, if I make it 1, it only highlights the top. If I make it 5, it shows me the top, right? Top 5, like this. Very simple. Now you select the chart, right, and delete it. We'll make a new one. Select the data once again, press Alt F1, and you should not see the chart. Hold on. Don't do Alt F1. You go to Insert, then you go to Charts, and it should come in the recommended charts. If it is not coming by chance, then you go to All Charts and don't select the first one, select the second one, like this. Right, everybody? This is the All Charts button. And go to All Charts column and then skip the first one, select the second one, because the second one is going to show both the series on the same axis, right? Like exactly how we wanted it to be. So it's not bad. I mean, it's sort of getting the job done in the sense that if I make all the blue ones gray, I'll keep a neutral color. So let me keep a gray color here, and I'll make all the orange ones green. You can see that it is sort of highlighting the top 5 for me. Can somebody tell me why are the green columns not appearing for all the other product categories?
because value are 0.
Because the value is 0. But that is why you notice there is a little bit of space here, because there is a position for the green to be there, but the value is 0, so it is not shown. Do you think it looks good like this in its current form? Anyone?
No.
Guys?
No.
Not at all. Because it's very confusing, right? Like, why are there 2 columns for furnishings and appliances? It's only going to confuse the user. So the final step required is you double click on the green one, just select any one of the green columns, double click, and you will have something called series overlap that you have to make 100%. You can also reduce the gap width to make it look even better. And this, everybody, is how you make your dynamic chart that highlights the top N value. Just see how nice this is. If I make it 0, everything is gray. If I make it 1, it highlights the top. 2 makes it like this. 3 makes it like this. So if you sort the data, I'm doing it manually, but you can use the function as well. So if I sort the data, it looks even better because now it shows you in a descending list. The top 3 columns are the top 3 values. And if I change this number, just see how nice this is. From presentation viewpoint, it's very nice to be able to do something like this. Right? Any questions, anyone? Any questions, any observation, any improvement or update that we can do to this that you can think of?
So the current rank formula works only if the values are unique. You have to specify. For example, if there is any value that is repeating more than once, that rank will skip.
That's okay. I mean, that you can keep as another check. So we have different types of rank functions available here. So if I, for example, if I make this come 2 times, right, like this, okay, it is showing me only this, right? Now, if you say, no, I don't want the ranks to be like this, then some variation in the rank you will have to do. So you can see I used rank here. We also have rank. I'm sorry, I also seem to have forgotten. So rank, let's just see what the difference in the result is. So just a moment. So it gives me 1, 1, and 3, right? So maybe then you can look at the top 3. I'll also have to see how we do this. Hold on. Rank average. Let's see what this one does. This one will give me 1.5, 1.5. So what is it that you want? You want to show these values, is it?
For example, if there is any value that is repeating more than once.
No, I understand the problem, but what is the expected solution that you want? See, right now the value is being repeated, but the 2 values that are the same are being highlighted without any problem. Is this what you want, or do you want something else?
That's correct, because these are on 1 and 2. But if there is any value that is on 3 and 4, and both are repeating, according to your current formula, only first 3 will be displayed and fourth one will not be displayed. You can repeat the value. Yes.
You mean like this?
Right.
But see, you can't really help it, right? Because when you say the top 3, then you have to define what do you do in the case of the same value. Do you still want to show only the top 3, which doesn't make any sense? Because how do you decide which one to show between binders and accessories? Or do you end up showing 1, 3, and 5? So that's what I'm saying. What is the expected solution? Like in this case, what would you want? Unless you tell me what your requirement is, I can't create the solution.
For example, so the 98553, can you repeat it for the binders as well? The value.
Okay, I understand your problem. It is coming like this. Is this the result that you want, or do you want a different result?
This is the rank one. Now, okay. Even if the person on the top end, if you specify 2, the parameter.
But it will, right? I mean, it doesn't, because if there is the highest selling category is not 1 category but 3 categories. It doesn't matter if I say top end. Okay, tell me something. There is a competition. You say I want to give the first prize to 1 person, but 2 people have the same score. Will you not give it to both the people, despite the fact that what is the concept of a tie? A tie means that yes, I only wanted to select 1 in an ideal scenario, but I can't help it because I seem to have 3 products that have all been number 1. Can they not be 3 number 1s in a brand portfolio? Of course they can.
Exactly, they can be, but isn't there something needs to be defined so that user can identify that yes, these values are actually same, even if we change the numbers to 4.
Let me think. I'm thinking. Okay, so equal to unique. Let me just make some space, okay? Everybody please pay attention to this. I'm answering it because it is a good question, okay? It's not, I'm answering it just because somebody asked me. It's a good question. So I will say unique, and I will find the unique numbers from here. So far, so good. Now I want to know if this unique is coming one time or multiple times. So, but this is going to get very complex. But anyway, let me at least do it with one. Then maybe you can go back and try with others as well. And we also want to filter out the 0. I don't like that 0. So I will just say that I want to sort my data, right, of unique as per a descending order. So that means the 0 will come at the, a second. Let's keep it like this. And we also want to take only the first value. So I just take the first value here, right? Now I want to see if this value is appearing one time or multiple times. So we'll have to somehow say that if this is the result that we are giving, let's just call it my calc. And now we want to say that if I do a count if in the entire range and I'm searching for my calc, what is the result? Now, if the result is coming as 3, that means that the value is being duplicated, isn't it? So if I had, let's say, different numbers here, right? So I'm just changing the number, just making it 2 and 1. You notice that it tells me that the first value is only coming one time. And this result, this 1 can then be used to show some result. So I can say that if this result is equal to 1, then don't do anything. If this result is not equal to 1, then I want to show some result, which would be the number 1 product is being whatever. There are multiple number ones. There are multiple number 1 products. Okay. Otherwise, we'll have a blank. Right? So you can see that if I repeat this one time, it tells me there are multiple number 1 products. Does it help?
Yes, sir.
Now, see, it's a good question, everyone. Like I also thought about it. Is there some situation where a client might ask me this? Of course, I can think of some models where we don't want to have a tie, especially in the CPG sector, right? For a variety of reasons. And what I've done here, of course, works with the first value, which is the index. But I guess you can, now that you've seen what I've done, what is the process that I undertake, you can be creative and try to do it in your own way. And please remember, you're not winning any prizes for writing a single formula. If it requires 4 formulas, please write 4 formulas. I'm writing a single formula because I also wanted to show you how you can make things more efficient. But in the beginning, when you're learning and getting, basically learning the ropes, make sure to write multiple formulas. And once you're confident, then you can merge everything, right? But yeah, I mean, this is the process that I take. So if you were able to follow the steps that I took, I also tried to do a little bit of hit and trial and see what could work. And I somehow knew I have to do countif. Like very early in the process of writing the formula, before everything else, in fact, I knew I have to do a countif because that countif I know will give me a different result to the unique. Obviously, the unique will give me 1, the countif will give me a different one. So how will you do this if there are multiple values that are being repeated? We will have to see. I'm sure something can be done. It might be very complex, but yeah, I mean, if you really need it, then I guess there can be some way that you can do it as well. Okay. Great. I'll keep the formula here so that you can go back and look at this. Right? Once again, this will not work on desktop, but you can copy this, upload the file, and look at it online. Right? Okay. Can somebody tell me what are the other ways in which this logic of overlap can be used? Like I'm showing the top end. What other things can I do? Quickly, tell me. Be creative. What other things can I do? So I can do top end, I can do bottom end. What else is possible? Guys, think.
So in terms of percentage, maybe?
Absolutely.
10%, 20%.
Absolutely. So what I can do here is I can say, let's say my percentile, right? And I can say my 90th percentile, right? So what will I say? It has to be greater than equal to my 90th percentile. No, hold on. What did I just do? No, wait. I also have to calculate the percentile. No, my bad. 1 second. We can't use the rank anymore then. So let me just quickly change this and I will say the percentile where my array is the complete, hold on, just give me a moment. No, so we keep it simple. Wait, it's easier to start from the beginning. So I'll say that if my value, okay, if my value is greater than equal to the percentile of all the values at what k value at 90th percentile with the dollar sign. If this is the case, then the result should be, it should show me the value, which should be C5. Otherwise, it should show me a blank. Okay? So what will happen is, it will only show me, let me just change the number also. It will only show me the first one because that's the only number that comes in the 90th percentile. But how is that possible? Let me just check once. Seems okay. Let me just put some random numbers here and see if the result changes. So 199 is being highlighted, which is good. Largest to smallest. Okay, fair enough. So if I say 70, yeah, it highlights the 70%. Fair enough. Anyway, I just wanted to give you an example. It's not difficult or anything, just to show you that you have to be very creative. Like I can say, let me just undo it one time. Okay, I can say how many values are above average, how many values are below average. I can say how many values are below the standard deviation or the median or whatever it is, right? This framework that I have given to you gives you a control cell. You can keep whatever you want in the control cell, and then you have to create a second column. So what are the steps? The user selects the control cell. That's step number 1. Step number 2, you need to create a new column which will only have some of the values, not all the values, some of the values. And why is that important? Because once you do that, then in the chart, in the third step in the chart, you can add both these columns as a result. Right? Good.
So could you show that formula for the percentile one? Missed that.
Let me just copy it. 1 second. Let's not mess around with this one. So percentile will be very simple. I have written, let's say 80th percentile. So we can say equal to, if my value is greater than equal to the percentile of my array at what k value at 80%, then it should show me the result as the value, which is C5. Otherwise, it should show me a blank or a 0, let's say. In fact, let me see if we can, by the way, when you're working on Excel with dynamic arrays, I can also say C5 colon C21 so that you don't really need to write a formula and then copy and paste it. Does this make sense, everybody? Rather than searching for C5, C6, C7, C8, C9, by dragging it down, I have just written if C5 to C21. So it checks everything at the same time. Right? But then I am not sure if the result will also change. So let's not make it complex. Let's just keep it simple. And then I'll drag it down like this. So you change the number. If you say 50th percentile, which is the median, you can say that these numbers are above the median. Let's say these are salary values, right? So you obviously, from an expense perspective, you know how important it is in organizations to look at parity of income. So we always say that the CXO or the CEO should be getting a multiple of the median salary. I'm sure you must have heard of all these things, right? So if just take a quick segue and show you Microsoft median salary CEO, right? I'm not sure how exactly I search for this. 1 second. If you look at the median salary for Microsoft, it is really, the number is not there. Anyway, let's just pick something, right? So let's take, let's say 25 lakhs. I'm just taking an example, right? So we're taking 25 lakhs. And what we're saying is that if the CEO is getting whatever 10 crores, then what multiple is that, right? Because a lot of organizations are trying to improve that because they want parity between what the CEO is getting paid and the median salary of the organizations, right? So again, that's a good use case.
Microsoft is 26 lakhs.
Yeah. Right. But you know, that's also because it's highly impacted by the top guys, right? So if you look at engineers who are just starting, you know, software, SD1 and all, you know, the salaries are much lower, right? But the median is a...
Yeah, that's why it's median.
Yeah, that's why we do median. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's why we do median. But otherwise, I'm just saying that looking at the median, do not forget the fact that if Microsoft, it will be very impacted by outliers, right? Because the top guys will definitely be getting much more.
So it's telling that it's mostly ranging from 5 lakhs to 58 lakhs.
On what class
only
store?
profiles. It's there in the Google, whatever.
All right, good. This is clear, everyone. So I've done it with percentile as well, and you can do as many things as you want. Let's do one final example on the bullet chart. Have you seen the bullet chart earlier? This is one of the most, this is a financial staple, okay? It's the bullet chart. And the moment you look at it, you will understand why it is so useful. Because the bullet chart gives you layered information. For example, I can see different milestones here, and I can see what my target is, what my achievement is, and till how many milestones I have cleared, like that. Of course, you can do this on Excel as well, but it requires a little bit of work. Creating this on Tableau and Power BI is much simpler. Like Power BI has an inbuilt chart that creates the bullet. Tableau also, it's much simpler than working on Excel, but it's important to learn Excel. So this is the problem statement. We have the sales for Q1 and Q2, and I have the target as well. So clearly you can see that accessories did not meet the target. Binders crossed the target. Bookcases comfortably crossed the target. Art had a small shortfall, and the same for appliances had a small shortfall. Now, if I make a normal chart, it will look like this. And this is what we usually do. And there's nothing wrong with it. I think it looks okay. But the problem is the moment you make a chart with 3 series in it, the first thing that people will think is that, oh, you're comparing this with this with this, and gray is the highest one. Of course, gray is the highest one because sales Q1 and Q2 add up to become the gray one. So what do you think we should do with the blue and the orange one? Anybody? Gray is independent since that is the target, but the blue and the orange are both sales values. So what should we do?
Overlap.
Not just overlap. We want to do this. What am I doing right now?
Stacking
We're
one.
not overlapping. We are stacking. Okay. We're taking the blue one and we are stacking it on top of the orange one. So now you will get a better representation of, oh, have I met the target or have I not met the target? Fair enough. Now let's see how we do this. Please make the chart first. Alt F1, remember? That will make the basic chart that we have. Okay. Now we go to change. I'm sorry, we go to change chart type. So you go to chart design and select change chart type. Change chart type, and we go to combo. It will mess with what we have. Do not worry. Excel does something on its own. It will automatically make a trend line for whatever reason. That's okay. What I need to understand is that my target, everybody, is independent. So it has to be on a different axis, right? And what type of chart? It has to be a simple clustered column. So you get a gray bar. But the blue and the orange ones cannot be independent. They have to get stacked. So obviously we have to make a stacked column. So I will select the stacked column chart. Please do this and tell me if this looks okay. Target is on the secondary axis. Q1 and Q2 sales is on the primary axis, but they are stacked. So you will not see blue and orange separately. You will see the orange on top of the blue, right? Like this. So I hope everybody has done this. And when you click on OK, it will look like this. Can somebody tell me, is this correct or not? What are the things that we need to change?
Sales for the Q1 got hidden.
No. Before that, there is one very important problem that I can identify. What is that? Look carefully.
The axis value.
The axis values. My primary cannot be on a scale of 900 and my secondary on 1200. How do I compare it apples to apples? So I'll have to double click and make sure that this is also 1200 in the maximum, right? Obviously, you have to make them at equal, right? So that it becomes an apples to apples comparison. Right? I'll do it once again. To change the axis, you can simply double click and in maximum, just change the number here. Do not keep it at auto. You have to make it 1200. Type it and press enter. So one part is done, but like somebody said, the other issue is that my target is in the front, my sales is behind. And obviously I can't see my sales because the target is sort of coming in the front, right? So what should we do with the target? Anyone? How do I see the sales and the target at the same time?
Increase the transparency of the.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we have to go to format. And because I have to make it translucent, increase the transparency, let's go one step forward and remove the fill. So I will first insert an outline. So I'll make a different outline, let's say a gray outline, slightly wider. And now I don't need the fill color. So in shape fill, we can make it no fill. Please do this. Right? So we go to format on the gray one, okay? Shape fill is no fill, like this. So no color, and then completely transparent. And then shape outline is a gray color with a point of 3. Right. One final touch that we can put is to double click on the gray column and I can reduce the gap width. You know, when I do it, you will see why I'm doing it. It looks much nicer now, doesn't it? Because the width of the target is a little more and the sales remains the same. Beautiful way of presenting the data. Because it's a 2-layered analysis, you can see that, oh, I did not meet my target. And you can also see which contribution was higher. Right? So I can see that Q1 had a slightly higher contribution than Q2. Of course, data labels and all you can add. I'm not doing all that. But then, yeah. So if you add the data labels, then you can see the numbers as well. Great. Any questions, anyone on this? All good. Now, like we have Q1 and Q2, which is 2 levels, we can even have 3 or 4. As a matter of fact, even the target can be of 2 different levels, right? So one is on primary with stack, the other is on secondary with stack. So many interesting things that you can do with it. Right? I mean, just to give you an example, you don't need to do this if you're not interested. I also want to look at the average, right? So average of Q1 and Q2. What did I do? Like this. Okay, Q1 and Q2. I will include the average in my chart. We will go back to chart type and I will put my average as a, just watch carefully, I'll put it as a line with marker. So it is a line which also has dots in it. And now very smartly, once I have the line with marker, I can select the line and make sure that I can remove the outline color. How cool is that? Now, what is it doing? It's like a box whisker plot, you know, that we create on Excel, where you can see Q1 and Q2. You can also see the average for the 2 quarters. So I can see that my average of the 2 quarters is about 300. Right? So see, like I said, I'm just giving you some additional ideas, but then you really have to come up with your own ideas. And how do you do that? Go online and see what others are doing. The best way to understand how to create charts and what type of charts you should be creating is to simply go online and then search for, let's say, EY, any sector, let's say finance PDF, okay? And I'll open any one, let's say digital disruption in finance. So when you read these reports, you will see, of course, this is a pie chart, but you will identify interesting charts that they have created, right? The colors, the placement, right? The storytelling. There are many learnings that will come by looking at different types of charts that they have created. So I already have a collection here. Let me show that to you. Of over 200 reports. So you can see how many different types of charts have been made. And whenever I need some inspiration, I just go here and sort of have a look at this. Look at this, how interesting this is. It's a line chart, but it has been rotated. This is completely forgot what this is called. It's called a slope chart because it only shows you one change. And when you keep on increasing it, it becomes a bump chart. Now you might say, but Havish, how do you even know the names of all these things? See, for all that you will have to study. So this is a bump chart, right? Where you have multiple time series, and then you have a slope chart. A slope chart is like this, where there are only two levels, before and after, 2019 and 2020. What you can also do is, I think FT has a chart guide, and you can look at that. It's called the visual vocabulary. And what they have done is they have created a very nice visual vocabulary like this. Let me just open that. Should I download it? You can just see it like this. Very cool, right? So they've explained for different purposes. So if you want to show ranking, what are the different options you have? We have the bar, column. Then you also have the ordered proportional symbol. You can use the bubble chart for this. Like I said, you have the slope chart, you have the lollipop chart. I'm not sure if you can create the lollipop on Excel, but we do it on Tableau. And then we also have the bump. And like this, for different purposes, there are different types of charts that have been created. Now see, just because I'm showing you one visual vocabulary doesn't mean there aren't others out there. You'll have to keep on reading and studying and saving and cataloging all these things. So if you look at how much I catalog, you will go bonkers. I have like thousands of websites that have been neatly cataloged, right? And I know exactly what is where. So whatever I need to search for, I can just find it wherever I need it. It's a very important habit that you need to develop because there is so much content available, and it very, very often happens that you are not able to find the content even though you know it is there somewhere, because you saw it 6 months back, but you can't find it again. It's very important to catalog all these things, right, on your bookmarks. Right. Any questions, anyone? We have 15 minutes, so we will start with VBA. Of course, we'll resume in the next session, but any questions so far? Anyone? Any questions? Okay, there is one topic called offset, which I have not covered. But this is important when we are doing VBA. But I'm not going to do it now, because if I start it now, then we can't start with VBA. And we don't need it right now. Okay, so let's start with Visual Basic, so that at least today you have a fair bit of sense of what VBA is. And since I will not be available the next 2 days, I have a EY training. You will have some time to practice and go through VBA. So we are putting this on pause, the offset, but we'll circle back to this later. What I would request everybody is to please open a new Excel file. Open a new Excel file. And do not save it the normal way. Usually when we save it, we go to save as, and let me select day 2. I'm going to call this VBA example, right? Do not save it in the same extension that you always save it. What you have to do is you have to save it as an Excel SM, the second one. Please ask me if you have any doubt, but don't do it incorrectly. Make sure not to save it as a Excel SX, which we always do. You have to save it like a macro enabled workbook, which is an Excel SX. Right? How is a macro enabled workbook any different? It is everything that a normal Excel file is, in addition to which you can also create VBA codes in it. Great. Make sure to do this, everyone. New Excel file, call it VBA example. Save it as a Excel SM file, macro enabled workbook. I will be sending it to you as well, but in fact, I'll put it on Teachable itself after today's session. But then make sure to practice it at the same time. All right. Now, is there anybody who has worked with VBA earlier? Can you just put a one on the chat window if you have worked with VBA, even a little bit, just for my understanding. If you haven't, that's okay. But if you have worked, if you can put a 1 on the chat window. No one? Okay. Okay, I can see 1 is there. There are 2 of them. Okay, then I'll wait for 30 seconds. Let's see the results. So Anirudh, Amit, Akash, Sudarshi, all right. Okay, so about a sixth of you. The first thing that we want to do is to understand what is the difference between VBA and macro. Can somebody tell me? I'm sure you will have heard of both these terms, VBA and macros. Tell me, what is the difference, if at all, or do you think it is the same?
VBA is the language where it is written, how the macro is being written. For example,
Absolutely.
you automate it using
Absolutely.
macro.
So macros is not something that is for Excel, right? If you look at macro, it's just a term that refers to a rule or pattern that allows you to convert an input into an output. So if you look at macros, I say, let's say Python, you can see that I can do macros in Python, right? If you look at Java, you will see that, I mean, Java does not support macros the way it works in other languages, right? If you look at RPA, robotic process automation, that is exactly the same as macros, which have been there for many, many, many years. In fact, very interesting. I really want to show this to you. What happened? They changed something. No, I have to sign in. Why do I have to sign in? Maybe I'm on an incognito window. Hold on. I want to show you something very interesting. I hope I can find it. Just give me 30 seconds. I'm not sure which one it is, so I'll have to click on everything. No, I think I've lost it. I can't seem to find it. Anyway, there's a very nice image from many years back, like 1990s, which has an image of Microsoft Office in it, and it also shows how macros work. So if I say Excel and from 1990s, let's see if it tells me something. Oh, I found it. Excellent. You see this? Clearly, this is a very old ad. And you see this? There is a macro button here. And it's so interesting that macros were there in one of the first, graphical interfaces for Excel, and many, many years back. And then over the years, somehow it got hidden. It was put behind developer tab, and we did not expect normal users to work with macros, because Excel did not start as something for the normal user. Excel started as something which academicians and people in research and quant can use. And then when it became a more popular consumer product, then they realized that, consumers do not know how to work on it, and it was relegated to the backend, so to say. It's a very interesting backstory to this. But anyway, the fact that macros have been around for so long means that there is so much content available. So VBA is the language that we use for Microsoft Office, right? And macros is essentially the computing term, right, which works on other languages as well. But we usually use it interchangeably because most of us, you guys will be working on Excel. You will not become coders. So when you say macro, it becomes VBA because your work does not require you to work on other things. Now, I work on many other platforms. So I have to be clear what I refer to by macro. Do I refer to VBA macro or do I refer to other macro, right? So if you look at the developer tab, the first two buttons are, in fact, both of them. Visual Basic is the environment in which you'll be working. Macros is the predefined routines that you have created, the codes that you have created. Okay. So what we want to do is to write a simple code today. And then of course, next lecture, we will continue from there. So I would request everyone to please click on Visual Basic. Note the shortcut as well, Alt F11. Alt F11. A new window will open up. This rubber duck is an add-on that I have. Ignore it. You don't have it and you don't need it as well. Okay, now when you open it, you should see a window like this, which has, oh, these shortcuts are really irritating. 1 second. Okay, so I have a window here called the Explorer, where I can see all the Excel files. I can see the properties for that file, and I can also see this large area, which is where we write the code, right? The actual code. Now, you have to highlight which file you're working on. So you notice that I have many files, but this is the file we're working on called VBA example. If you see a lot of clutter, that means that you have opened a lot of other things also. Please don't do that. Make sure to minimize everything and only VBA example should be open, right? You have to click on it. And accidentally, if you close it like this, if everything is closed, how do you bring it back? Go to view, select the project explorer, so it will come back, and then again go to view and select the properties window, right? Because sometimes these get, I don't know, accidentally hidden, or you might be doing something and you click on that close button, something like that. So make sure that if it is hidden, you can go to view and bring these two things back. All right, let's come to VBA example, everybody. Let's close everything else. But where is the code? Where do we write it? So I will open my Excel, and you can see that there is a sheet. So sheet is an object, and the workbook is also an object. So when I say that I'm opening the workbook, closing the workbook, renaming the workbook, putting a password on the workbook, all these operations are being performed at a workbook level, right? When I say that I am changing the name of the sheet, when I say that I'm adding a column, all of these changes are happening at a sheet level, right? But where do we put the code? The code comes in something called a module. So please right click on the workbook and then insert a module. Right, everyone. So right click on the workbook name and insert a module. So this large white window will open up, and you can see module 1 on the left side. Again, what this window is a development environment. So this is actually meant for proper programmers. Normal Excel users, financial analysts, and CXOs and marketing managers and product managers are not supposed to work on it. That is the reason Microsoft very clearly says that this is the developer tab, right? You're not supposed to work with it. But then if you want to become an advanced Excel user, you have to work with VBA, especially in finance. So this interface is called the IDE, which makes it the integrated development environment. Okay? So the IDE is just essentially some environment, some software, which you're using for building applications, right? In a graphical interface. So you don't have to use the command line interface like this, for example, right? So this is what we call the CLI, the command line interface, or I can use the graphical user interface. Right? What other types of IDs are available? Even if you have never worked on them, I'm sure you must have heard of them. So for example, we have something called Jupyter. Jupyter is something that works on your browser, which looks like this. And this is what is used for writing Python codes. But this is obviously not the only way to write Python codes. You can write Python in many other things. So I have another interface, another IDE called Atom, which is typically used for creating web pages in JavaScript. It can do many other things as well. It's a very lightweight IDE. And if I show you, this is where you can write the code like this. Right? One of the most popular ones is Visual Studio Code, what we call VS Code. I just want to show you how they look so you get some familiarity with it. So this, everybody, is how you write on Visual Studio Code, right? Which is VS Code. Like this, there are many other competitors available. And as you can see, I'm working on a HTML project, but you can do different languages in it. And we have the main one, which is Visual Studio. Visual Studio is much bigger, which is used for creating things like desktop applications, for example. Right? How does Visual Studio look? By the way, these are all free of cost. There are always paid versions available for developers, but what I'm working on is all free. Right? So if we open one of them to show you, I hope I haven't deleted it. Just a minute. This is the interface. And you can see the project explorer is on the right side, like this. Now I hope you can connect it to Excel. So when you learn VBA, you should feel very proud of yourself because you're actually learning programming. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise, that no, VBA is not programming. VBA is proper programming. You're working on an integrated environment, right? Yes, it might be a very old language, but that doesn't mean it's any less important than other languages, right? So you have the Explorer here, have the properties here. This is your area where you write the code. Same like we have here as well. Okay. If any of you have worked on R, you know that R also has a similar environment where you write the code on the left. On the right, you have your variables and you have your web interface and things like that. So in the module, we will write our one code today, which will be a sub. Sub stands for a subroutine. Sub is a what we call a subroutine, which means it is a series of commands. Let's just put it like that. And obviously, when I use the apostrophe, I'm sure all of you can guess, I'm creating a comment, right? Different languages have different comments, different ways of creating comments. So JavaScript, will have something else. You will use in Python, you will use a hash like that. Right? Here we write a sub, which is a subroutine, and I want to call it show my name, like this. Please do this, everyone. Show my name. And only one line of code that we are going to write. We will say that we want to show a message box, MSG box. MSG box. And you can see this is very similar to a function. I mean, it is a function in the sense that you have different arguments in it. So what we want to put here is the prompt, which will be, hi, this system belongs to, please do this, how I've done it. Hi, the system belongs to, then put a and. The and is just like Excel, which is used for concatenation. Right? So hi, the system belongs to, put a colon, put a space, close the double quote, parentheses, put a ampersand. And now we want to break into a different line. Remember in Excel, I told you Alt Enter, which breaks the formula into multiple lines. How do you do a Alt Enter here? That means a line break. We have to write VB new line like this. And then you say and application and just put a dot. Let me explain what this is. So just write message box, hi, this system belongs to. Then you say and VB new line. So you're creating a new line in the result. And then you're saying and application. So this is what we call a dot notation, right? Dot notation means that there is a method, right? Or there is an object and I'm going inside the object, right? So there is a child within it. So we also have something called a bracket notation. It doesn't work on Excel though, but we are using a dot notation here. So you can see in application, there are many options we have. I want to select something called username. That's it. That's all you have to do. Please write this, everyone. Message box, hi, the system belongs to, and VB newline and application dot username. Right? And close it. You can even press Control S, close it. And then how do you run the macro? You have to go to macros here. You will see that a macro has been displayed in the list. Simply click on run, and you will see that it says, hi, the system belongs to. Then there is a alt enter, which is the VB new line. And then it picks the system name from that application dot username. Yeah. So that is our first example. And so far we have seen we have to save the Excel as a macro-enabled workbook. VBA and macros are interchangeable, but VBA is for MS Office, macros is the general term. We are working on the integrated environment, which is Developer tab in Visual Basic, which is very similar to other IDEs as well. And to place the code, you want to create a module, and in the module, you want to create a subroutine, and then you write the single line of code like this. So this is the foundation of working on coding in Excel. Of course, next time we will take bigger examples and connect it to different cells and different range of data that we have on our sheet. Any questions, anyone? Let me just clean up everything else. Close my Epic pen as well. So I know that jumping from Excel formulas, functions back to VBA is quite a big change, because now you're not really looking at formulas equal to sign and data and stuff like that. But then these are different components of Excel, right? So you should not consider them as one entity. Of course, everything will become interrelated going forward, but then VBA is aimed at automation, right? Formulas will still be required. VBA does not mean that you don't need to write formulas. The only difference is you don't need to write the formula again and again. If the formula is complex, VBA is not going to reduce the complexity. VBA can only help you with reducing the redundancy so that you don't have to repeat the formula multiple times, right? I hope I'm making sense. Right? So don't expect VBA to reduce your formula's length. That's not really why VBA is required. Great. So that's all for today. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Right. While you're thinking of questions in the meantime, let me also quickly go and check my dates availability. So this is starting on the 16th, which is great. So this week I can do, just a moment. Yeah, I can do 10th and 11th. Yeah.
Okay, sir. Maybe then we can discuss among us and reach out to you with whichever date is feasible.
Yeah, just keep in mind that after that, 16, 22, 23, 16, 22, 23. Yeah, so we will have to, we can't keep on stretching it, obviously. Usually these trainings happen on successive days, right? I'm giving you the luxury, and of course, next 2 days I'm not available, so that's a problem from my end. But 10th and 11th we'll have to do. Time I'm okay with. You can choose the time. Right? But you'll have to let me know tomorrow in the first half so I can block it accordingly. So we'll complete our 3rd and 4th session.
Definitely, sir. Definitely.
All right. Great. If there are no more questions, then we can call it a day. I also have a packed day tomorrow. And you have a couple of days, right? So make sure to practice VBA. Do not go ahead of what you've already done. My suggestion is at the moment, rather than practicing and copying and pasting codes, which I will be covering in the next session, focus more on the background, the literature. Go to Google and ask questions like use of VBA in finance. Go to Google and say which companies use VBA. You know, that is the background that you need to do yourself. Like I can share my experiences with you and share a few links with you, but you will of course have to go and read those articles, right? So just make sure to do that. And then of course, next time we start with VBA, we will complete it in about maybe an hour or 1.5 hours. We will start with Power Query, and in the fourth session, we will continue with Power Query and Power Pivot, like that. And last two sessions we're keeping for Power BI.